Southwest Fire Academy was established in 2015 as a response to the recognized need for quality, safe, and affordable fire and rescue training in Ontario. This is not your average fire college. SFA has high standards for their students, and it is their mission to teach and produce qualified, ambitious firefighters who are prepared to work hard to serve their communities. This is not a diploma mill. This is where you can learn strategic, aggressive firefighting from passionate, intelligent instructors who never forget why they were made to do this job. SFA is an accredited private career college that is regulated by the Ministry of Training, colleges, and universities, with a memorandum of understanding with the Office of the Fire Marshal. This means that SFA is an approved training provider with the OFM, and the programs are recognized in Ontario. Check out their pre-service and expanding selection of course offerings at southwestfireacademy.ca. Hello everyone. There is a very important feature-length documentary for the fire service to be aware of that is premiering August 6th at the Hanover Theatre in Worcester, Massachusetts, called Burnin Down the House. It highlights the terrible living conditions and infrastructure of Massachusetts firehouses and the resulting health effects on the firefighters. All listeners can get 10% off the ticket price with the code FIRE at the Hanover Theatre website, thehanovertheatre.org. Here's my chat about the documentary with filmmaker Tommy Dwyer, and how you can support it if you can't attend.
We'll start off by telling me a bit about you and how you got into filmmaking. Let's do a bit of backstory.
I joined the Screen Actors Guild in 2006. I had some small parts in movies, kind of all over the place. Went away from it for a little bit, and then around COVID, kind of got back into it and really started saying, like, in Central Mass, I think there's a really strong group of people and community that we could really make a sustainable film economy here. So instead of just auditioning and trying to act and stuff, I decided maybe I can start making some films on my own. And that was kind of what brought me into filmmaking.
And so what was that journey like, figuring that all out on the other side of the camera?
It was not easy. I had taken filmmaking in college, so I knew a little bit about sort of the craft, and I had been on set a bunch of times, so I had seen it. But my first project was a TV pilot that I wrote and shot called Hollywood, and it was really getting your legs back under you again, like actually taking a hold of a camera and looking at shots and setting stuff up. And so I feel like that was definitely a learning journey, and I think this is my fifth film that I've done now. So now I have my legs under me and I'm rolling, and Burnin Down the House is my first feature length movie that I've done. And then I'm rolling to a second feature right after it. So it's been cool. It's been a lot of learning and a lot of just listening to those that have done it before and learn from people that are better than I am.
Did you have already in your mind when you started making movies a style or a genre that you wanted to be in, or was it documentaries from the beginning?
No, so it was never documentaries. So documentaries came because Kathy Crosby Bell, who started the Last Call Foundation for her son, Michael Kennedy, who passed away in the Back Bay fire, found out that there was a filmmaker in Massachusetts that has deep family ties to the fire department. So through Diane Cotter, she reached out to me. I was like, hey, Tommy, like, I know you've really never done much documentary work, but I have this idea for a short film on like the conditions of firehouses in Massachusetts, if it's something you'd be interested in. And immediately like that hit home for me. Right. So I was like, I'm in, like, and I think it shows in the film too, because it doesn't come off as a very like standard documentary. It's a very narrative film that happens to be a documentary. So I took all my filmmaking and stylistic stuff and storytelling from narrative features and turned it into a documentary. So started out as like a short film about just pictures of conditions, and immediately my sort of intuition as like a writer kicked in. I was like, there's a story here. I was like, let's dig it in. Let's make it a feature length film, and let's really dive into not the buildings, but the people that live inside of the buildings and how it's impacted them.
Had you seen other fire documentaries like Burn or Boys Street?
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, that was my first thing, is like going to school and starting watching Good Job NYFD, Burned, which was the one that was done here in Worcester also. So, yeah, my first thing was like, how do I dive in and watch documentaries? I watched, there were some TV shows that had been done, almost like a cop style shows where they followed fire crews around. Watch those and understand what I liked, what I didn't like. sort of how I could piece stuff together and then make my own style film. But I mean, I'm a big believer in whatever you're doing. Like the first step is doing the right research and studying and figuring out like, okay, I like this, I don't like this. How can I kind of mix it all in and make it my own?
You said when you first got asked to do the movie that it resonated with you, and you have family history in the fire service. Maybe talk to me about them and what they've struggled with.
My father was a Worcester firefighter for 32 years. Since he retired, he had two massive heart attacks. His first massive heart attack came less than a week after he retired. Two massive heart attacks and cancer, all under age 70. My Uncle John was the president of the Worcester Union for a long time and a firefighter for 30 plus years. He had to retire because of a massive heart attack and cancer. My dad's cousin, who I called my uncle, Cliffy DeCourcy, worked at one of the stations I visit in the film at South Division in Worcester. He died, again, 7 days after retirement from idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis. His lungs kind of just seized up and stopped working. And then my Uncle Wayne, who worked in Fitchburg, he's had multiple heart attacks, multiple forms of cancer. And we just realized recently, in the last 4 weeks, he has another type of cancer that he's now battling as well. So when she reached out and said, like, hey, I want to make a film about the fire department and sort of the health impacts it has on people, I immediately just like looked at my own family and I was like, if this much is happening to the people that I like am related to, imagine what it is on a much wider scale. And the more I dug in and the more I looked into it, it's actually like astronomical when you start looking at the numbers of cancer related deaths and illnesses on the fire department. It's a pandemic that nobody is really talking about too much.
Did it really blow your mind that a place like Worcester, which is like what more obvious place that has proven the dangers of this job, that their firehouses are not up to par? Like, how does that happen?
It was, for me, a very strange scenario walking into some of these firehouses in the city that I went into as a kid, right? Because like I went around with my dad picking up his check. I grew up in these firehouses. And to walk back in after being away for so long and being like, nothing's changed in 40 years. It's like to the point where sometimes like, that's the same chair that was there that like Cliffy was at. Like, I'm like, this is super weird. And you'd think that like, all these municipalities, Worcester particularly with some of the tragedies that they've faced, all these municipalities, you'd think like you wouldn't treat prisoners like this, let alone like people that are doing a job for the city that's considered like a high esteemed job, right? They don't mind. What bothers me and sort of a part of the thesis of the film that I came up with as I was working on it is like, we love to praise firefighters when there's a tragedy, when there's a big fire and they rescue someone, or when unfortunately one of them dies in a fire. But the rest of the time, we seem to just forget about them. And this film is made to say, let's remember them all the time. Let me show you what their everyday is, not the heroic day, the day in and day out, aside of the heroism.
Yeah, it's interesting to see that even, and I think in the general conversation, that even 9/11, right? Like how that highlighted the dangers of the job, and then even that tends to fade, not with us, but with the public.
100% after time, or like more importantly, even within the time when it's time to vote. That's said in my film. It's said very eloquently by Jason Burns in Fall River. He says, we don't need your support always. We need your support at the ballot box the most. We need your support when they say, hey, we're going to build a new fire station. And you guys go, I don't really want my taxes to go up $50 a year. So no. But then like when there's a tragedy and a fire, to get like dozens of donuts or something like that, it's appreciated for sure. And I do think like we didn't just go film these trucks. We rode along, we embedded with these crews. And I can tell you firsthand, driving along on a truck, regardless of where you are economically, whatever city you're in, you guys are well loved, well supported by the people when they see you. But I think when they don't see you, it's a little bit forgotten and goes unseen. And that's what I'm trying to show is the everyday, not just the hero shot.
So how did this expand where you saw one station, then you realize it's multiple stations, and then you realize it's across the country?
I mean, immediately when I stepped foot in the South Division, I called Kathy and I said, hey, listen, I'm not going to ask you guys for any more money. This isn't about me getting rich. This is about me telling the story. I guess that's sort of the creative person's sort of double-edged sword, right? Like, I don't want the money. I want to tell the story. Like, let me tell this story. I don't care at what cost it comes to us in the end, right? So I said, I don't need any money. I just need to tell this story on a much bigger lens, because for a short film, nobody's really going to see it, first of all, because I always ask people, what's your favorite short film? It's like, I don't know, right? So I was like, we need to get this seen by as many people as possible. Way one, by doing that, is making it a feature-length movie where it has an ability to be seen by a lot of people, A. And then B, we rode along, and then we interviewed the men at South Division the next day. And after the interviews, I was like, this is so much more than I intended to bite off. My questions that I had down went way off script, and I started just talking to them, and I realized I sort of had this nostalgic moment. These men and women are firefighters, but they're people. And they're people that do heroic and extraordinary things, but they're people. And some of the answers I got, I said, Kathy, like, I'm opening a hornet's nest here. I can't tell this story in 10 or 15 minutes. I can't do it. It would be doing it a disservice. There's a health aspect to it. There's a mental health aspect to it. There's a human aspect of like relationships outside the department and how being a firefighter impacts those. And then there's my story of a kid that is going back into this world after not really being in it for a while, and my journey in sort of finding myself. I can tell you, after making this film, and I'm glad we expanded it, my relationship with my father has gotten so much stronger and so much better, because now I understand him so much more than I ever did after really putting myself in his shoes.
Were the men and the women in these departments surprised that you were coming to them wanting to tell this story? Had they kind of, after all these decades, just resigned themselves to nothing was ever going to change?
100%. Even in the documentary, you'll see that a lot of them are like, oh, it is what it is. And I'm like, no, dude, it shouldn't be that way. And like, you can hear me off camera sometimes be like, no, man, like, that's not normal. Like, it's not normal to like have asbestos hanging over your head while you're eating a sandwich. Like, that's not normal. And one guy in Worcester, his name's Seamus Shanley, firefighter, put it really good. He said, the most dangerous words on the fire department, Tommy, are because that's the way it's always been. And it doesn't have to be that way. A lot of them were struggling to advocate for themselves. They're very giving people. Obviously, that's why you all do the job that you do. Very giving, very caring, very empathetic, but very not caring or giving or empathetic when it comes to themselves. So they're like, well, I would do this job if I was, some guy said that, like, I'd do this job if we slept in sleeping bags on the sidewalk because I love the job. And sometimes that gets in the way of me realizing I'm not being treated very well here, am I? It was very eye-opening for a lot of them. And I found that my relationship with a lot of these people that I interviewed has grown much stronger too. Like, we talk now, like, I helped one of the guys build a deck the other day. He's like, hey, Tom, you around, man? I need a hand. I was like, sure, dude, I'll swing by. I'll help you out. Because once you do break down that wall and you're like, wow, this guy really cares about us. He's not just here to make a movie. He's not just here to like, he's not a Hollywood guy. His family's firefighters. Yeah, you almost become like an outlet for them to be like, dude, this is messed up. And like, they know that they're safe talking to me.
And if it's gone on this long, there must be, through attrition, people that joined the fire department when it was like that. So it literally has never been any different.
100%. Like, hey, we shut up. We do our jobs. We don't talk about it. Like, I was driving along, I told you, to the stations today and dropping off this merch gear and these flyers for the movie. I was with this girl, Jess from Worcester Wares, who in the city, she does all their job shirts and she does all their clothing, right? And so she's the one doing the clothing thing. And I said, Jess, like, one thing that I kind of, when I was digging into like the science and the facts, one thing I'm not sure of that's like ever really been looked at in an in-depth way is the long-term effects that this job has on you. There are really good data points on active on-duty members that are dying of cancer or that are off-duty because of cancer or heart attacks or mental health. But there's not a lot of data that I could find readily available on what happens 5 years after the job, 10 years after the job. It kind of occurred to me literally today as I was driving. I said, Jess, my dad's class, their probably average age was, right now, they'd probably be 68 to 70 years old, right? If you had a class of 20 people, I bet 6 of them are still alive. The rest of them are all dead. And that is not normal, but we take it. Even me as a family member takes it as normal. It's like, oh, Steve died, Mike died, Brendan's dead. And we're just like, oh, cool, we'll go to the funeral. Sorry for your loss. Kids my own age losing their father. Like my best friend, Keith Halverson, who is on the fire department now, took up after his father. His father died in the line of duty of a massive heart attack at like 50 years old. And we did the parade and all that stuff, and it just is taken for granted. It's like, yeah, it's just another guy. But I would like to see some numbers on that. I think it would be a very interesting thing to look into is like, what happens to you after the job that's not seen by these statistics? Because, dude, I don't know, like looking through Worcester of people that I know, if you looked at all those classes that came on in the 80s and 90s, I bet half of them are wiped out in every single class. I bet you could go through and be like, all these guys are dead. These are the few that are still alive. That shouldn't be the case. There shouldn't be guys dying in their 50s and 60s and early 70s of these like wild cancers and massive heart attacks. It just shouldn't be that way.
How did you become aware of the other departments? Were they starting to reach out to you as word got out about the film, or were you finding them on your own?
It was a bit of a mixed bag. So the Last Call Foundation, Jason Burns is an executive director over there. He's on Fall River. So that's how we got into Fall River, which I'm so glad we did because that was atrocious. Like, shameful that they live in the conditions there. So that's how we got to Fall River. Westwood was made through mutual union connections, but we really struggled. The film took 1.5 years from conception to today, where it's still being completed. We have it over in Ireland now, having the sound being mixed. A lot of that time, and you see it play out in the film, because I said the best way to tell the story is linear. Like, here's summer 2025. Now we're in winter. In narration wise, I'm like, hey, we're back. The reason it took so long is we called 50 departments. None of them would let us film here, including some major cities in New England that were like, there is no way you're filming here. You're not coming in. We're not showing you the state. No matter how many strings I tried to pull with like union connection, they're like, nope, not happening. And the union guys would come back and be like, sorry, Tom, like it's not happening. So very thankful for the places that did let us in. I also have some stations that gave us limited access that we have photos of the movie in that we could see certain areas, but not the whole station. And then honestly, I have some where guys were like, hey, I'm anonymous. You don't know who I am, but this is this station. Use it because we want people to see, the guys want people to see what it's like here. It was very hard finding the places we found. Lucky that it worked out the way it did because we really ended up with 3 very different size departments, 3 very different socioeconomic departments, and all the same issue. And I can tell you, after the trailer has gone out, that has almost 800,000 views now across all the platforms, I'm getting hundreds and hundreds of inbox messages from firefighters around the world saying it's the same here in Australia as it is in Worcester. It's the same in San Diego as it is in Westwood. And it's like, oh my God, this is a pandemic that I uncovered. I thought I was doing like a little 15-minute thing, and I uncovered a hornet's nest.
So you mentioned Last Call Foundation a couple times. So maybe just let's focus on them, talk about them, what they're about, and how they're involved.
So the Last Call Foundation is a charity, as I said, was started by Kathy Crosby. Her son died, Michael Kennedy, in a fire in Back Bay in a complete tragedy where his hose burned through. They are a nonprofit organization. Half the proceeds of this film throughout the life of this film. So from the premiere all the way through, if we get a theatrical run to streaming, half of the money goes directly to Last Call Foundation for perpetuity because we want that. We want firefighters to be being helped by this film. And this is not a movie where I'm trying to make a lot of money. I'm trying to help firefighters, the men and women that are on the ground level, right? The real ones battling these battles. And so they're a nonprofit organization, and their job is solely that. They want to improve the health and wellness of firefighters in Massachusetts, around the country, by providing them with cancer screenings, non-PFAS related gear, hoses that can't be burned through. It was jarring for me to talk to Kathy with some of the departments that we went to and got photographs of that have fire hose that's manually spliced together, like duct tape and bubble gum spliced together. And she's like, how, this can't be happening. Like, tell them to reach out to us. We want to come and give them new fire hose. We want to give them new gear. We want to have them have cancer screenings. So half the money for this movie goes right to Last Call, which is going to be a ground level effort to help the men and women on the fire department.
Which normally in North America, when we think about, or in Canada and the US, I would say, we think about departments that need help. We should be the countries that are putting together gear and stuff that maybe are a few years old, and we're sending it to other countries.
100%. We should be leading the way. We should be the example. We should be the crown of what fire safety looks like. And sadly, it's falling apart.
And administrators being proud of their stations and welcoming people in for tours to watch and see what they do.
100%. I mean, we have, you know how it is when you uncover anything. There's some people that aren't going to be happy with you also. And we've had some people that are not happy with us also. And I keep saying, hey, look, I didn't make these conditions. I didn't plant any of these conditions. I just came in and showed them. So if you're not happy with them being showed, maybe you should look in the mirror. Maybe the anger is misdirected. Like no need to be angry at me. I'm the messenger.
You did a great reel on, you mentioned it here too, prison versus firehouse. So, and you mentioned the asbestos hanging from the ceiling. So maybe just touch on some of the things you're seeing and finding and that people are going to watch in the movie.
That prison versus firehouse thing, those were taken from Massachusetts prisons and Massachusetts firehouses and comparing them side to side. I mean, the stuff we saw ranges everything from even going on this tour for the past couple of days, driving around the stations. We drove up to a station that I thought was a nice station. I was like, this looks great. And they're like, no, come here, look at this is all black mold. We have no fire alarms because the ceiling leaks and shorts out the fire alarm. So they told us to just take them down, which has happened in multiple cities, by the way, at multiple stations. One of them said, check this out. In our kitchen today, a dead rat that had to have been 40 pounds. The thing was bigger than my bulldog. I was like, what is that? They're like, yeah, we had a dead rat in our kitchen just an hour before you came in. Water problems, right? Both from the ceilings leaking down, but also from the groundwater coming up in multiple stations, again, in multiple cities where there's puddles 1.5 feet deep across the entire floor of the station. That's just considered normal. Asbestos, both from the ceiling piping and from the tiles that are on the floor. Someone made a comment that like, oh, these guys should just clean it up. And I said, well, I'm going to tell you something. This was my response. I said, in South Division and Worcester, the level of pride that these men and women take, I could see myself in the tiles. Legitimately, we have footage of it. You can see a reflection in the tiles. That's how clean they are. But what are the tiles made of? Broken asbestos tiles. So it's the cleanest cancer-giving floor that you would ever see in your life. It's not lack of pride. It's not like we took the fire alarm down and forgot to put a battery in. It's like, no, the fire alarm's down because our ceiling leaks and is shorting out the fire alarms and the city doesn't want to fix it, so they told us to take them down. We saw, I know rats, but like pests like bug infestations where one station had bugs all over it where they're like, yeah, you can't really sleep because there's these bugs everywhere. Dude, I mean, the level of stuff that we saw is like hard to summarize. Ventilation on the trucks for the diesel fuel, but the vent is broken. So the diesel fuel is just pouring into the station on, again, multiple trucks and multiple stations. So you see stuff like that and it looks great until you really look. Like the Westwood guy said, this looks great from outside, but it's a house of horrors the second you step inside. And that's the stuff that no one gets to see that I'm trying to show here. They go, oh, they have ventilation. It's like, yeah, but all the ventilation is broken.
Which we usually see on the job where a house looks fine on the outside and we go into the house, we're like, oh my God, this is a nightmare. It's a death trap and fire prevention officers get involved and there's issues that they have to clean up. So it's crazy it's happening in our own houses. And asbestos abatement isn't an easy thing to do.
No, and that's the issue in Fall River. So in Fall River, there was 4 shower bays, but only 1 working shower for, I think it was 16 men and women at the station. So when we were there on the days and nights that we were there with them, there were multiple times where they had gone to multiple calls and couldn't shower between the two. And then it would be like 4 hours later and nobody had taken a shower from the first instance. So you'd go from like a small kitchen fire. This was like one night, a small kitchen fire directly back. One guy had a chance to start to take a shower and then you get called out again. And we went to a car accident where there was victims and blood. Come back. One guy starts to take a shower, called out again for a chemical spill. It was a guy polyurethaning his floors and they spilled all the chemicals. And it like, I was out on the street because they said it wasn't safe for us to kind of go up in. And I was getting like dizzy and like I smelled like it. And no one could shower from that. And it's like, these guys are now wearing like blood, fire, shards of glass, chemicals. Like you're lucky they don't light on fire when they walk into the next thing. They have so much stuff on them. Some guy said they should just fix the showers themselves. Most of these guys are probably handy. And I said, well, the issue is all the piping is asbestos and they're not working because they're going to have to repipe the entire station. So it's not like these guys are just like, oh, the shower handle's broken, we're not going to fix it. It's like, no, it's fundamentally broken from the core of the building. You can't fix it.
Yeah, the guy you did a short clip with was talking about he'd been there for 19 years and 3 of those showers had never worked.
Yes. They use one to collect cans. And I said, well, what do you collect cans for? And they said, well, we trade the cans in to buy water for ourselves on the job. And I said, the city doesn't provide you with water or coffee? They said, oh, no, we buy all that stuff ourselves. So I called the mayor's office and said, hey, do you pay for your own coffee? He said, no, city provides us coffee. He didn't know why I was calling. I said, oh, okay, that's interesting. City Hall gets coffee and water, but the firefighters have to collect cans to buy their own coffee. They said all the air conditioning in the building, all the air conditioners were either donated or bought by firefighters. It's like, what in the world are we doing?
Were there any council members or administrators that were willing to talk to you and be on camera?
No, I wasn't willing to talk to them, to be honest with you. This is for me, once I saw the situation, I said, this is about the men and women of the fire department. I'm sick of the talk of like, oh, we really care. So I said, you know what? I'm just talking to the men and women, man. It reminded me a little bit about like doing a documentary. One of the things I really based it on was a really good war documentary called Restrepo, where a guy embeds with the army in Afghanistan and he lives with them and sees how it really is. And he didn't ask any politicians. He lived with the men and women that were there. And I said, this is about the men and women that are there. I don't send me off to war and then say how much you care about me. I'll see how much. So you'll see in the movie how much they're cared about.
Yeah, so you didn't need the empty words and promises.
I don't care about that. I really don't. And that's my whole thing. I don't mind if you're mad at me. I don't mind if you say I'm not giving a fair shake to the politicians. I think you look at the building and the conditions, and I say that you had a fair shake, man. Like, you had a chance. The building was built in 1920. It seems like there's ample time to have done some fixes.
Is the merch that's being sold, is the money from that or some of that going towards?
Yeah. So half of the proceeds of that go to the Last Call Foundation as well as support your local firefighter. I thought that message was straightforward, clear, and who can't get behind that, right?
So when does it premiere? Where can people see it? And how can they support it if they can't get to see it?
So the movie premieres August 6th at the Hanover Theater in Worcester, Mass. It's a beautiful, historically renovated theater. So they renovated that. Beautiful theater. Tickets are already on sale at thehanovertheater.org. Yeah, please, if you can't support it by going, please share. Follow me on Instagram at Tommy J. Dwyer. Please like and share and repost the stuff that I am. For me, it's less about the movie itself and it's more about the movement. So if we can make this a thing where support your local firefighter becomes a thing, where the reels that I'm posting, like you said, prisons versus firehouses, gets a ton of views. That's more important to me than anything. So if you can't be there, I know you have listeners from all over the country, all over the world. Follow me, share the stuff that you're seeing, share the stories. Start asking questions in your cities and towns of like, what does my firehouse look like? They're public buildings, by the way, if you want to go see. Start asking questions. What do they look like? And support your firefighters when it's time to go vote. Like when you're voting, vote with the men and women of the fire service in mind always. So if you can't be there, that's how. But if you can be there, please come out August 6th for this premiere, because a lot of what happens next depends on what happens that night. So I've had, like I said, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of messages of, I'm from Canada, I can't be there. I'm from wherever, Nevada. What can we do? Please share. For us, we have a tentative theatrical agreement now with 14 theaters throughout New England. What it's pending on is how the premiere sells, because they like the movie. They said that the movie's amazing. We think it's a great cause, but we don't know the appetite if people are going to care about this or not. So we have to show them that we care by turning up to the theater, by maybe calling your local theater and being like, hey, you guys playing Burn Down the House enough times that they go, what the hell is that? And then we can get it in theaters across the country. So Scott, this is literally a grassroots movement. Any type of grassroots thing starts with, I posted a thing today. It said, the power of the people is so much stronger than the people in power. We can all help. We can all be a part of this. Like, share the message. I don't even care if it's my message. Share a message that's pro-fire department, and let's start supporting these men and women.
I know you could go to your local theater and ask, are you showing it or can you show it? Is there any, could guys and girls Like, who would they contact directly to say, can you bring this to our hometown?
Yeah, I mean, I think it would be like I said, like the theaters we're going to are all local theaters. So like independently owned theaters, not necessarily like big chains. So if you have an independent theater in your town, say like, hey, check this out. This reel has almost 1 million views across platforms. We would love to see this in our theater too. Can we get that to our theater? Like the independent theater owners are just regular guys and girls too. They're not big corporations. They're grassroots also. So if we can make this a big independent movement, I think that's a great way to do it. Making noise online is another great way.
So they would know who to reach out to request the film.
Yeah, exactly. They can do it themselves. These like independent theaters say, hey, this guy, Tommy J. Dwyer, is doing this thing. Like they can reach out to me and I get the message directly. And I can say, yeah, we'll play it in your city. I'll come out to your city, because a big part of what I'm doing is the cities that we have these tentative agreements with, if this premiere goes well, or if we get a big enough online following where I can say, hey, check it out, we got 1 million people looking at this, right? What I'm doing is I'm not just going to the theater, I'm going to the fire departments in that area, and I'm talking to the firefighters, and I'm saying, hey, come out, support this thing. What's your firehouse look like? And I'm putting it all on social media so people can start seeing that it's more than just a movie. This thing's taken over my life, man. I thought I was going to do like a 15-minute little short film, and now I'm in way over my head, loving every minute of it.
Just mention again where they find you on social media. There's a website? If there's a website and links, like just spill it all.
Absolutely. The Instagram is where you can find me at Tommy J, Jay Dwyer, Dwyer. The documentary has a page too at Burnin Down Doc. So both of those, at Tommy J. Dwyer and at Burnin Down Doc, everything we do is going to be through those two vessels, and showing up on social media and seeing the following that this is getting is really going to help us bring this movement, hopefully, across the world.
Is there anything else you want to cover that we may have missed?
No, man, just like get out there and support your firefighters, whether it's checking out the fire station, calling your city council members, your town council members, or just by liking the film and supporting this movement. The firefighters need your support. They're not going to advocate for themselves very well. So take it upon yourselves to help those that help you, please. It's not about me. It's about you all. So I love you all, guys. And like, man, I feel like such an emotional connection to this film more than anything I'm doing or have done before. This film is like, I need this to work because I need this to start creating some change. And we have the power to do it. So don't ever feel like, oh, my like won't count or my vote doesn't matter. It does.
Well, I'm glad I became aware of it, so we had this opportunity.
I am too, and I appreciate you for giving me the platform so much.
Yeah, and we'll get it out as soon as we can.
Thank you so much, man. We appreciate you. Yeah.